Hi, my name's John Newells, and I'm the Chief Rules Architect for Squarriors The Card Game. This is a brief crash course on how the gameplay in Squarriors The Card Game works. This video doesn't cover every nuance of the game, but we are going to hit all the core gameplay concepts. Now, I've already built a tribe for us and our imaginary opponent, but if you're looking for more information on tribe building, we cover that in a separate video. Check that out in the link in the video description. For now, let's get our domain set up. Each player has 3. The green domain to your right is our Vanguard, our tribe's spies and assassins. The domain cards associated with our Vanguard are 1 or more land cards. The red domain in the middle is our army. The domain card associated with our army is a stronghold card that represents the physical location where we garrison our soldiers. The blue domain on the left side is our council, the group of creatures that lead and govern our tribe. The domain card associated with our council is a code card that represents our tribe's core philosophy. Before the game starts, we need to place all of our creatures in domains. I've already placed Bloodpaw and Jacko in our council. I've already placed Cheeks, Cadence, and Crash in our army, and I've placed Spin and Ghost in our Vanguard. The last thing we need to do is decide on the starting powers for our 3 domains. Domains can start the game with a power from 1 to 6, but the starting total of all 3 can't be greater than 12. So I'm going to start our council at 3. I'm going to start our army also at 3. I'm going to start our Vanguard at 6 because we've got some heavy hitters here in the Vanguard. And that's it. We're ready to start the game. During the game, our objective is ultimately to reduce our opponent's domain powers to 0. Because when a domain power hits 0, that domain is permanently destroyed for the rest of the game. You lose 2 of them, you're out of the game. Alright, so let's start the first turn. Every turn is divided into 4 phases: the ready phase, provision phase, power phase, and the action phase. The ready phase is super simple. You just take every card you've got that's been expended and you ready it. In the provision phase, we make sure that our tribe has the strength to support all of the creatures we control. We compare the sum of all of our creatures' provision values to the sum of our domain strengths. Moving on to the power phase, we have to gain power equal to our greatest domain strength. In this case, that's our Vanguard at 6. So on to the action phase. This is where all the good stuff happens. During this phase, you can play tactics from your hand, move creatures, buy recruits, make attacks, and initiate leadership challenges. To start, let's make a stealth attack. I'm going to use Ghost to attack one of our opponent's creatures. In order to make the attack, I have to expend Ghost to declare him as our attacker. When I do, I also announce who he's targeting, Cheeks in this case. To see if the attack is successful or not, I have to roll a 6-sided die. If my roll is greater than Cheeks' domain strength, the attack is successful, and Ghost will deal damage equal to his current might to Cheeks. Alright, so I'm going to roll. Alright, so I got a 5. That beats the 4 at Cheeks' domain. That means the attack is successful, so Ghost is going to deal his 2 might as damage to Cheeks. I'll mark that with a couple of damage counters. Since this stealth attack was successful, we can increase our domain strength at our Vanguard by 1, or we can decrease the domain strength at our target's domain by 1. Since our Vanguard's already at the max of 6, I'm going to take Cheeks down by 1. There's no limit on how many stealth attacks your Vanguard can perform every turn, but you can only target an enemy's creature with 1 stealth attack per turn. So in our example here, none of our creatures are going to be able to target Cheeks again with a stealth attack. Alright, let's bring out the big guns, make a dominance attack. Dominance attacks can pit multiple creatures against multiple creatures for maximum damage and effect. First, I announce that I'm going to perform a dominance attack targeting an opponent's domain. Let's go with our opponent's Vanguard. Then, we expend any creatures in our army that we want to commit to the fight. So let's go all out. We're going to attack with all of the creatures in our army. Unlike stealth attacks, there's no dice rolling during a dominance attack, so we skip right to damage. We're going to deal all of our creatures' damage to all the defending creatures, and all the defending creatures are going to deal all their damage back to ours. Alright, so our attacking creatures have a total of 4 damage they're dealing to the defenders, and the defenders are dealing back a total of 3. Each player distributes the damage in any way they want. I'm just going to put it all 1 on each, maximize their survivability. If our opponent was a real person, he would decide where the damage goes on his creatures, but for the sake of the demonstration, I'm just going to do the same thing we did, even distribution. Any creature that has the same amount of damage counters as their blood value dies. Because our creatures dealt more damage than the defending creatures, we actually get to modify domain strength just like we did in the stealth attack. We can modify our army's domain strength up by 1, or we can modify the defending domain strength down by 1. Because our army's only at 3, I'm actually going to increase that up to 4. We haven't used our council yet, so let's get them in the game with a leadership challenge. Leadership challenges can potentially include every creature in every player's council. We're going to have Jacko initiate the challenge by expending him. Then, our opponent can choose any creature in his council to participate in the challenge. We'll add in his Jacko as well. After our opponent chooses a creature to participate, we can add another creature as well. We're going to add in Bloodpaw, just to make this interesting. After we add Bloodpaw to the challenge, our opponent gets another opportunity to add another creature. He's going to add in his Bloodpaw as well. This continues back and forth until every player in the game doesn't or can't add any more creatures to the challenge. Just for the sake of letting our opponent have a win, he's going to add in his cheeks as well. Once all of the creatures that are going to participate are participating, we can add up the total will of each participating player. On our side, we've got a total will of 4, 2 and 2. Our opponent has a total will of 6, 2, 2, and 2. As you might expect, the player with the greatest total will wins. The winner, our opponent in this case, can then modify any domain strength in the game up or down by 1. So we're going to have our opponent actually go back up to 4 in their council, undoing that stealth attack we did earlier in the game. Lastly, let's do a manipulation attack. This is an attempt to convince an opponent's creature to betray their tribe and join ours. Spin is our only ready creature, so we're going to use him. Just like a stealth attack, in order to start up a manipulation attack, I have to expend my attacker. When I do, I also announce my target. In this case, I'm going to go after Bloodpaw in our opponent's council. To see if the attack is successful or not, again, just like a stealth attack, to roll a 6-sided die. If my roll plus Spin's will is greater than Bloodpaw's will plus his domain strength, then it's a successful manipulation attack. When a manipulation attack is successful, you place a manipulation counter on the creature that you targeted. That manipulation counter doesn't do anything by itself, but if we perform a successful manipulation attack on Bloodpaw in the future, we would take control of him and he would actually join our tribe. Just like stealth attacks, there's no limit to the number of manipulation attacks you can declare every turn, but you can't target the same creature twice in the same turn with a manipulation attack. The last thing we have to cover is tactic cards and strategy chains. Tactic cards come in 4 types: instants, commands, marks, and traps. To make a little bit of space to show you what a strategy chain looks like, I'm going to clear off our opponent's cards. Instants can be played anytime, even when it isn't your turn. The other types can only be played during your turn's action phase. If you're familiar with other card games, you'll understand tactics without any trouble. Just pay the power cost on the card, and then do whatever the game text tells you to do. But with Squarriors The Card Game, it doesn't end there. After a tactic card is played, it gets added to your strategy chain, and its higher level function is revealed. Ooh. While in a strategy chain, the tactic strategy text, this darker text box in the bottom half, is now in effect. This strategy text can affect the game in a lot of different ways. It can become stronger or behave in entirely different ways depending on what cards get added to the strategy chain later in the game. The total number of cards, the type of those cards, and even the specific location of those cards in the strategy chain can all alter the effects produced by that strategy chain. Squarriors The Card Game is a deep and robust strategy game, and managing the strategy chain is what separates a master from a novice. This video was intended to be a quick introduction to the core gameplay concepts in Squarriors The Card Game. There is much more to discover, and we've got a lot of videos coming your way very soon. Until then, check out SquarriorsTCG.com and download the comprehensive rules. Thanks for watching.